The 5K Titans on Pokerstars is one of the most prestigious tournaments of online poker. This final table alone is packed with some of the best and most successful tournament players in the world. Among them, Michael Addamo. By many considered to be the best tournament player in the world, Michael Addamo loves to put high-stakes regs to the test with his aggression and his fearless plays. Of all these extremely talented players, is someone able to stop him? One candidate to bet on would be Lena 900, Niklas Astedt, who is second in lifetime cashes on this table and likely one of the most profitable online tournament players. However, in this hand, he bluffs off his missed flush draw into a straight, which wouldn't happen in theory. For one, because the flop would always be a check back for the button. The big blind has a nut advantage with more 2-pair and straights, and also just more chips, which means the more the button starts to blow up the pot early on, the higher his risk of busting the tournament. ICM at work. Lena's donk bet on the turn is a thing, but the river jam isn't. Ace-8 would also be a raise on the turn. But if ZeeJustin knew Lena would bluff the river more often than he should, that might have been a nice exploit. Lena is left with only a few big blinds and he busts shortly after. What about European as a contender for Addamo? Samuel Vousden, a longtime crusher at the highest stakes and equipped with a bunch of chips. The chip leader going into this final table. Being seated directly to Addamo's right, these two bump into each other a lot. In this hand, Addamo picks up trips when European has top pair. He slow plays the turn and raises Sam's river bet. Sam shows why he is so successful and makes a good fold. But their battle continues and goes back and forth. Sam picks up a few small pots, and so does Addamo. Addamo then does what ZeeJustin didn't do earlier and checks back 9-6-5 suited as the preflop raiser. Having opened the hijack versus Sam's big blind, he faces an overbet from Sam on the turn. Even though the solver would prefer to do this with hearts, this play would sometimes happen in theory. Michael's check back removes a lot of nut hands from his range, as he would often bet them on the flop. At the same time, Sam's range in the big blind includes a lot more of these low cards which connect with this board anyway. So by overbetting the turn, he's telling the story of having one of many nut hands. But since Sam is a good player, Michael knows he will also make use of the situation by bluffing a lot. 6-7 is a clear call, not only being a pair and having a gut shot, but also blocking Sam's most frequent value bets like 2-pair, sets and straights. On the river, Sam gives up, just like the solver suggests. Lower ace-x's, king highs and a bunch of jack high and worse air hands make for better bluffs. So Michael scoops a nice pot, giving him the chip lead. And a great player with a lot of chips is a dangerous combination. European on the other hand gets involved in another similar spot. He calls the cutoff's open raise with 4-5 suited and flops an open in a straight draw. The anonymous player ZeeJustin goes for a 1 big blind c-bet, which is part of the solver's strategy for the cutoff's range and ace-king suited as well. Since the big blind's range is extremely wide because of the antes and no rake like in cash games, Sam will have hands like 2, 3, 4 and 5x suited and even offsuit. These can't even continue against a 1 big blind bet. And even for ace-king, cleaning up a lot of equity and taking down 6 big blinds by risking only 1 is a sweet deal. European in a spot would want to check raise a decent amount of the time, including straight and flush draws, but 4-5 of hearts can also just call. The turn doesn't help Sam's 4-5, but the 9 does connect better with his range than with ZeeJustin's ace-king, so checking back is the preferred play with ace-king and 65% of his range. The ace on the river is an interesting card, because on one hand, Sam is uncapped and can wrap a range consisting of 10-8, 5-8 and many 2-pair. Which he does try to do. On the other hand, an ace hits the cutoff's range well, as he would play a lot of his ace-x's this way. That's why the solver actually likes to slow play a lot of the 10-8 hands and 2-pair in the big blind's shoes instead of overbetting them, which also allows him to have less bluffs, and 4-5 suited would not be one of them. Against the overbet, anything but Jeps's river 2-pair has a tough decision though. He does find the last second call with ace-king, which is fine according to this sim. But keep in mind that Sam's actual betting range apparently looks different than the solver's. Apart from this bluff, which wouldn't happen, he might also just bet a lot of his nuts, so he may still be balanced here. He does lose another 15 big blinds though, while Jeps's second hero call makes him second in chips. But what about Justin Bonomo? With $70 million in lifetime cashes, he has probably played the most high stakes tournaments of all players on this table. But somehow, he doesn't manage to double up when he min-opens jacks from the cutoff against Jeps's 6s in the big blind. Because Jepse just calls. Justin gets another big blind from him on the flop. But on the turn, Jepse just folds and manages to dodge a potential 13 big blind loss. In a similar spot in this simulation in paired, 6s would mostly just be a jam pre-flop. And you might have expected this play too. So is this just a passive and maybe even scared play? Or might it be a great read of the situation and a good exploit? For this, let's ask someone who is not only watching these games, but actually playing and crushing them. Only recently, he himself won this exact tournament, the 5K Titans, Bencb.
Let's go! Winner! As we can see here, in these kind of situations, we want to be reshoving any pocket pair. It's a very similar situation where we are one of the bigger stacks and someone raises off his 10 to 15 big blind stack from the cutoff. And we see we want to be reshoving any pocket pair, most of the ace-6 hands. The reason why we want to be flatting the middling ones because we just dominate them so much. They're still profitable as reshoves, but they're a little bit better as calls in terms of its profitability because we dominate so many hands post-flop. Now a hand like King 5 suited is a little bit better reshoving because we fold out hands like King 10 off or King 8 suited. Also some of the broadways that have a lot of equity. Now what you want to consider, of course, is our opponent capable of raise folding enough? Typically, especially on these stakes, of course, Justin Bonomo is going to have enough raise folds. That's why I'm super happy about this spot reshoving. I mean, in this situation, it worked out for him that he's not reshoving into jacks. But I think in the long term, you will make more money and we don't want to be results orientated. So I definitely prefer reshoving 6s over jacks. There aren't many flops where we can continue. And we also let him realize his equity with hands like Queen 10 off or Ace 8 off. A lot of these hands that are quite marginal to go all in with on a final table. Now, what is very important here as well is, does Justin Bonomo or does this stack in general have an incentive to play a lot of pots? Yes, because there's no other immediate short stack where he can still wait it out. There's a high likelihood of someone else busting before him. Now, if there's another stack that has 12 big blinds, 15 big blinds, I would be a little bit more careful. I would still jam, but now in this particular situation, Justin Bonomo, he wants to fight for pots. He wants to accumulate chips because he's the clear bottom stack. And that is very important. It's not just about a short stack or a certain effective stack size. It's more about what is the gap to the next stack, because that is very, very important. There's a big difference if someone is a short stack that has 10, 11, 12 big blinds, but the other short stack, the second shortest stack, has 13, 14, 15 big blinds. Now then, just one double up and you're back in the game. Now, when you have 11, 12 big blinds, and as we have it here, where the next stack has 26 big blinds, it's very unlikely that they're going to be busting in front of you unless it's a mega setup. So that makes it even better to be really shoving really aggressive against Justin Bonomo here. So I don't like this call at all. I will reshove all day long, and we see we want to be reshoving even in this sim here. We do have a 13 big blind stack present, so the cutoff shouldn't be raising as many hands here as in the situation with Justin Bonomo where we were 5-handed. And you see that a lot of the hands he's raised folding with, a big portion are 8x hands, the ace 8 off. That's quite a decent amount of combos, and the ace 7 off. So having 6s, 5s, 4s is always a little bit better than, you know, 7s and 8s, because Justin is shoving 9s and 8s anyway. So it makes no difference if you end up having 4s or 5s or pocket 8s. If you get called, you're either running into ace king or bigger pocket pair, but you have the added benefit of unblocking some more of the raise folds, which is great. I hope you guys now understand how to play against these decks. Of course, make adjustments. If you know this guy has been a mega nit and then he suddenly min raises, be a bit more careful, then play it safe, call. He's not going to have that many raise folds, and then it can shift into the EV of calling outperforming the EV of reshoving.
Thanks a lot, Ben. If you want to learn everything about tournaments, Raise Your Edge is your place to go. I personally have learned a lot about MTTs from Ben's tournament masterclass, and all preflop ranges in this video are taken from the ICM tier in Parrot, where you get to learn real preflop ranges including ICM. Until the end of May, you'll also get up to $300 off by going through the link in the description. So if you want to take action and start crushing tournaments, there's no better time than to do it now. Shortly after, ZeeJustin attacks Graftekkel's big blind. He chooses an almost min raise as an open size, which gives Graftekkel the odds to call king 4 off. ZeeJustin flops a set and leads out for a quarter pot, which the solver would do as well. This gives king high with a spade enough odds to continue again. On the turn, ZeeJustin then decides to go for the trap instead of always betting, which would be the solver's strategy. His timing is good, however, as he manages to get the big blind to start bluffing. The river then is a dream card for ZeeJustin, as it makes his hand basically the nuts and at the same time improves the big blind to some flushes. Or lets him represent those, which Graftekkel does try. Unlucky for him, because the play is solver approved. ZeeJustin continues his run, when he gets European to hero call 2 pair against his straight. Which now makes him the chip leader, and European head out of the tournament. And Addamo continues his appearance as the Grim Reaper, when he also takes out Justin Bonomo, which means we see a showdown between Michael Addamo and ZeeJustin 8. Here, things go back and forth. Addamo's 2 pair get value with block bets against ZeeJustin's top pair top kicker, and ZeeJustin doubles up with a full house against top 2. A few hands later, a setup occurs. Which makes Addamo's stack short enough to shove ace 4 off against the limp. ZeeJustin, who limped with pocket 3s, calls and folds. No, he doesn't. But he wins. He wins. If you want to see another one of Addamo's weapons, which might have won him one or the other hand, or even tournament, this video will be exactly for you.